Just refreshing your memory as to the tweet from a Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson. A mocked-up image, of course. It does go to, of course, allegations made in the Britain inquiry, but putting them in the most crass and, you'd have to say, provocative manner possible. We've blurred that image. It shows a very young child at knife point of an Australian soldier. Trent Zimmerman and Peter Khalil are here in the studio with me. Trent Zimmerman, these are pretty strong words from the Prime Minister. Repugnant, it diminishes China. This seems to have gone from simmering tensions to outright feud between the two countries.
Well, I mean, the tweet is just reprehensible. There's no two ways to describe it. It is extraordinary that this has actually come from an official Chinese Foreign Affairs spokesperson. It is one of the most provocative things that another nation could do, and really and truly I just have no words to describe how angry I know Australians will be that this has been posted by the Chinese government.
Labor keeps saying on the relationship, well, the government could handle it better. Does this give you pause for thought around who you should be directing more of your criticism towards?
Well, they're two separate issues, Tom. I think it's justified to hold to account the government, we're the opposition, about their performance. But on this particular point, it's a disgusting tweet. And as Trent said, in the norms of international diplomacy, they have crossed the line. I mean, I haven't seen this kind of thing happen, well, very rarely, if ever. And that is a huge step that they've taken. And it is reprehensible. It's disgusting. It's an insult to Australians. And I would just say, frankly, what Brereton inquiry ever emerged in China when it comes to the Uyghurs or Tibet or what's happening in Hong Kong? We should be proud of our system. We have an independent judiciary. We hold our forces to account. We have processes, inquiries, royal commissions and so on. It is just really unacceptable what we've seen. Now, as far as the Prime Minister's response, I'm sure there will be a very strong response. He's already given that. As far as a Labor person, I think we need to really stand up and say this is unacceptable on behalf of Australia,
right.
And that we shouldn't...
You stand unequivocally with the Prime Minister calling this repugnant, saying it diminishes China and that China should apologise and take down the tweet?
Oh, they should certainly take down the tweet and there should be an apology. He's standing up for Australia. He's the Prime Minister of this country. Sometimes you've got to set aside the partisan on this. That doesn't take away from the fact that I've been critical of Scott Morrison in the past and the government generally about their handling of the China relationship to get us to this point. They've made mistakes. But this particular tweet is unacceptable.
The relationship right now, is it at crisis level?
I wouldn't go so far as to say crisis level, although today's events have obviously ratcheted up the tensions between China and Australia. But the point that I would make is that Australia wants a constructive and strong economic relationship with China. The Prime Minister's made that consistently clear. But Chinese authorities have to recognise that democracies like Australia, and not Australia alone, will always stand up for our values, and the relationship has to be reset on that basis.
But this seems, I mean, the hope from the Prime Minister is this leads to a reset without condition, that China comes back to the negotiation table, if you like. That seems unlikely?
Well, I think that this tweet and the actions of China will not only appall Australians, but frankly, I think will shock the entire international community, particularly our fellow trading partners and democracies, that a nation like Australia could be treated in this way. We have been very upfront about the Brereton inquiry. The transparency that the government and the ADF have shown would be something that China could well do to adopt in its own dealings with its people.
Well, it's illustrative of our democratic system.
It is.
Which is a big difference than their system. And I think that's something that probably there's a big misunderstanding about.
But doesn't this go to the difficulty of the government, the Australian government, trying to deal with China? They've given the 14 list of grievances, which Labor doesn't appear to disagree with any actions there from the Australian government. A speech last week by Scott Morrison trying to sort of talk up the relationship and the Chinese government's achievement to lift people out of poverty relates in this. I mean, can you reason with a government that considers this a reasonable response?
Reason, that's an interesting word that you use. I think when you're dealing in international relations and bilateral relations, we're talking about national interests. Cold, hard facts are that we need to do what is necessary for Australia's national interest. When we can find common ground with countries like China, who we trade with, and they're an important trading partner, we do what's best in our national interest. And part of that is standing up for our values, absolutely. Part of it is managing the relationship in the most effective way to ensure we get the most out of the relationship. Now, we've been
keep
critical in
saying
the past.
managing. We've got the list of 14. We're not going to roll over on free press that criticises China. We're not going to stop MPs from talking about China unless you want to propose that.
No, not at all. Well, we've already breached it today.
I mean, Huawei, we're not going to let them in on Huawei because they're offended that they can't handle our 5G and the security concerns there. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of these.
I don't think...
This is what's angering China.
I don't think this list of grievances that was handed over by some embassy staff is something that we're going to be following through on in any way. As I said, the Australian government should be doing what's in Australia's national interest and what's important for us. Standing up for our values, making sure our trade and our economic relationship is one that's mutually beneficial, but certainly beneficial to us, and continue to do so within the framework of the international rules-based order. And this is important because this kind of tweet, as I said earlier, has crossed that line in what you would see in international diplomacy and the norms.
I think it'll end up being an own goal for China, because I think the reaction around the world will be horrified that a nation like China, which is meant to have a degree of maturity as a world power, is behaving in this way.
It's an overreach, and it may come back and hurt them. Yeah,
we've got to leave it there. Bit short on time. Apologies, a bit of a strange day. You've got to get off to question time. If you don't know the building, it's a bit of a walk. So we'll let you get over there, Trent. Peter, thank you.